Hi guys, this is Jiggy, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I created this image. So from visualizing it, overcoming the obstacles we had to face in order to capture it, taking that photo, and lastly, my post-processing. So before we get into the actual editing of this image, I want to give you guys a brief background first of how it was shot and the obstacles that we had to face while shooting it. Because editing for me is actually the last step of this entire creative process. It starts off with clicking the shutter and making sure that when you're pre-visualizing everything, you already know what you're going to be doing in post. So this image was actually shot in Siargao in the Philippines. And it was a very cloudy day. And I remember we were headed to this location, and in my head, I already gave up on shooting a decent sunset. But fortunately, when we arrived, some streaks of light started going through the clouds. That's why we actually had to rush to get into position. So I'll show you this quick video. It's only about 10 seconds. As you can see, the boat of the couple was actually very precarious because it didn't have any outrigger, so it was very wobbly. And this particular area is said to be crocodile infested. So we had to be very, very careful about how we would be shooting and to make sure that safety was of utmost importance. So when we got to that location, immediately I started shooting with an ultra wide because I wanted to get the entire scene. Then I realized that we couldn't really go in that close because of the waves the boat was creating was affecting the stability of the boat of the couple. So we had to move back, and I decided to shoot it with a 51.4. I had here my flash with a Magmod spear, and initially we were playing around where the location of the light would be. Then I decided I wanted it right smack at the center, so that the light would look as natural as possible, and at the same time it would be very easy to remove in post. Then I saw some streaks of light in the water coming from the sunset, and I asked the boatman to position the boat right there, took a few shots, and that was it. So now let's get to editing this photo. So my editing starts with Capture One, and if you guys are wondering what this is something that I cannot edit without. This is my Loop Deck Plus. Basically, it controls everything here in my computer, but instead of using my mouse, I use some knobs in order for me to adjust whatever it is that I want to adjust in the image. The thing that I like about this one is that I can adjust simultaneously with both hands, like my brightness, my contrast, my exposure, so I can visually see it without having to fiddle around with my mouse. So the first thing I do whenever I'm editing is I take a step back and do a holistic look on the image. So I ask myself, what am I going to do? I think I want the colors. I want to shift my white balance so that the colors are more on the warmer tone. Maybe bring up some shadows and isolate the subjects even more, basically focusing by light. So I start off with adjusting my color temperature. There. White balance, I think, oh, there we go. That's beautiful. Then I would adjust my saturation. Good, there. Then my exposure and brightness, there. There we go. I think that should be good enough. Let's zoom into the couple and see how it looks like there. I think we're good there. Okay, now the question would be, do I bring out the details in this area? I could now, by just creating a new adjustment layer here, bring up the shadows. There. Should be good enough there. Okay, then invert this mask and then start blending it in. Maybe bigger, opacity lower, flow lower. Just bringing out a bit of the details here, just so that it's not pitch black. All right, beautiful. So from here, all I have to do is now export it to Photoshop. So immediately, as I was saying earlier, I put the light here so that it would be easy to remove. And now the boatman also, I kept him in the shadow in order for me to easily remove him in post. Okay, so with this one, it's just as simple as this. All I have to do is take my clone stamp tool and clone this out. So it's best to always get into a tight zoom. I normally have it with a soft edge brush if I want it to blend seamlessly. But then the moment that I am hitting the edges, that's the time that I make the edges of the brush a bit harder so that it becomes more precise here. Now see, the light is here. It's actually affecting the hand. It's covering the hand. We can't do anything about that anymore. This is basically just a quick touch-up. Doesn't have to be perfect now, but honestly, most of my editing is normally done in Capture One, after which I give it to my more experienced editors to do this. They can actually work on this one longer. All right, so there, you can see it already, but don't forget that there's also a reflection here, so you gotta remove that, or else it's just gonna look so fake. Now, this boatman we also have to remove, so I'm just using my clone stamp. Very, very simple. Don't forget to remove the shadows also. Okay, so there we go. Now my final step would be my sharpening. Oh, I forgot, I normally edit in a separate layer. I forgot to do that in the beginning. So before you start anything, just make a new layer. But since this was just a very basic edit, it is so simple. So the final step would be to sharpen. Now this action set basically I made a few years back. I'll show you how it works. It's basically just an action set that I did already. Look at the difference. Look at that. It just adds a lot of contrast. Then I would remove it and mask that area in. And there you go. Very, very simple. So from here, I just save it. Then after I've saved it, I just have to run another action, which is for me to optimize it for web upload. So you guys are probably wondering what my action sets actually contain. To be honest, I haven't done it manually in about 8 years, but it is a bunch of unsharpened, unsharp mask, so many things, so many little incremental things in order for me to sharpen the image. Plus, my sharpening for web upload is like image size, image size, image size, and unsharp mask. But I'll tell you what, I am going to give you my action sets for free. And all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment, go to my Instagram, which is @JiggyAlejandrino, and follow me there, then send me a DM. The moment I get your DM, I will send you a link where you could download this action set. But I will only keep this there until August 31, 2020. Okay, fair enough. But before that, I actually want to recap everything, and I can't stress it enough that this entire editing process is not meant to salvage an image. Rather, it is the final stage of that image creation process. So as I said earlier, it starts off from number 1. It's from pre-visualization. Number 2, we actually have so many things that we have to deal with, all the obstacles that we're faced with, we have to solve it there. Number 3, everything that I did in post was something that I already knew that I will be doing the moment I clicked my shutter. So my position of my light, I made sure I put it there so that it's going to be easy for me to remove and it doesn't affect any of the major subjects in the image. Okay, so till the next video.